And of course we will go back to the first presentation at the end, is from Dr. Bob Lee, who will join us virtually. Dr. Lee will present CodeBreaK 100/101, a first report of safety and efficacy of sotorasib in combination with pembrolizumab or atezolizumab in advanced KRAS G12C mutant non-small cell lung cancer.
Thank you, Dr. Naidu, for the kind introduction. I'm sorry I can't be with you all in beautiful Vienna, but I really am grateful for the opportunity to share with you from New York the first report of the safety and efficacy of sotorasib in combination with pembrolizumab or atezolizumab in advanced KRAS G12C non-small cell lung cancers. This is the analysis from the CodeBreaK 100/101 clinical trial. These are my disclosures. So as a background, sotorasib is a first-in-class KRAS G12C inhibitor. It has been approved as monotherapy in over 40 countries around the world for patients with previously treated KRAS G12C mutant advanced non-small cell lung cancers. These approvals were based on the international registrational trial of CodeBreaK 100, where the pooled analysis showed an overall response rate of 41%, as recently presented at AACR. With a median duration of response of 12 months and a median overall survival of 12.5 months. And it was largely well tolerated with a low percent, 6% risk of treatment discontinuation. Now, we're trying to improve this and bring a better treatment for patients in the first-line setting, which still remains an unmet need. And the background for this is that sotorasib synergizes with anti-PD-1 inhibitors to suppress and inhibit tumor growth in mice. This is in preclinical studies as published in Nature, as you can see from the figures. And this combination enhances CD8 T-cell infiltration in mouse models. And we are hoping that this combination would then lead to a better regimen for these patients and potentially, eventually, a first-line treatment option for patients. So in this study, we combined sotorasib with the anti-PD-1 pembrolizumab or anti-PD-L1 atezolizumab. Because of the historical difficulties combining targeted therapy with immunotherapy, we were very flexible in this dose escalation, dose finding study. Sotorasib doses could be escalated or de-escalated across five doses. And also we explored concurrent treatment with the combination of sotorasib with pembrolizumab or atezolizumab, as well as a lead-in where you could have sotorasib as a monotherapy first for 3 to 6 weeks, and then leading up to the combination therapy with pembrolizumab or atezolizumab. And this study, this analysis occurred after a median follow-up time of 12.8 months. We primarily looked at safety, but also looked at secondary endpoints such as overall response rate, duration of response, and disease control rate. We treated a total of 58 patients, and as you can see, 67% of them had prior anti-PD-1 or PD-L1 therapy, and a median prior line of therapy was 1, up to 7 prior lines of therapy, and the PD-L1 expression levels are also detailed below. So we first looked at the combination with pembrolizumab as a concurrent regimen. And we started off with pretty high doses at 720 and 960. And as you can see here, we saw a very high percentage of treatment-related adverse events, primarily hepatotoxicity with elevation of ALT and AST. Those were largely asymptomatic elevations of liver enzymes. However, because of this experience, we de-escalated with the sotorasib dose down to 360 milligram daily and 120 milligram daily. And we saw in this experience a trend toward a lower incidence of hepatotoxicity with the lower doses. We then looked at the lead-in versus concurrent experience. And as you can see, whether it's pembrolizumab or atezolizumab cohorts, the lead-in regimen had numerically lower risk of grade 3 and 4 treatment-related adverse events. Here, the grade 3 to 4 hepatotoxicity occurred mostly outside of the DLT window, the dose-limiting toxicity window of the first 3 weeks of treatment. And the vast majority of these events resolved with corticosteroids, treatment modification, or discontinuation. And the incidence of hepatotoxicity was similar in immunotherapy naive or immunotherapy pretreated patients. We then looked at the dose of sotorasib within the lead-in cohorts based on the knowledge we gained during the earlier cohorts. And we also saw that with the lower doses of sotorasib as lead-in, we had a lower incidence of hepatotoxicity or grade 3 or 4 treatment-related adverse events. Of note, at the 240 milligram dose, there was a 20%, still a 20% incidence of grade 3 ALT, AST elevation, but better than what we started off with. This is the waterfall plot showing an overall response rate of 29% in all comers. This is a very heterogeneous mixture of different regimens and different combinations and different cohorts. And the treatment responses may have been affected because many patients had to discontinue treatment, so they didn't have drug exposure for a long period of time. And the duration of response, as you can see here, had a median of 17.9 months. And still 8 patients were still ongoing to have treatment benefit and response out of those 17. And the responses were also similar between the immunotherapy naive or pretreated patients. Median depth of response was 51% shrinkage. This is the sotorasib lead-in and pembrolizumab cohort experience at low doses, up to 360 milligrams of sotorasib. As you can see, durable clinical benefit was observed with deep responses. And still to date, 6 patients still had ongoing clinical benefit, with 4 of them receiving concurrent treatment with sotorasib plus pembrolizumab, and the other 2 receiving continuation of sotorasib. This is a case study of a patient of mine who, just as an example, received concurrent sotorasib with pembrolizumab at full dose. And within the first cycle, she was doing fine. But after the second cycle, the AST, ALT went up from grade 1 to grade 3. And this necessitated holding the drugs, prednisone administration, until the AST and ALT came down, as you can see in the figure. And then eventually the pembrolizumab had to be discontinued. So she continued sotorasib at a lower dose of 240 milligrams, which continues to this day. It's been maintained for more than 2 years with a complete response that is ongoing. We were able to get a liver biopsy to find out why were there so many hepatotoxicity. In this particular case, we saw a lot of infiltration of immune cells. There were mononucleotides, there were Kupffer cells, a lot of liver injury with inflammation and infiltration of the immune cells. Whether this is responsible for the long-term response in this patient, we don't know, and more studies need to be done to answer this question. So in conclusion, in a cohort of 58 patients, both pretreated and IO-naive settings, the sotorasib with atezolizumab or pembrolizumab combination led to a higher incidence of grade 3 to 4 treatment-related adverse events compared to the monotherapy experience that was already published. But we did see ways we could mitigate this by lowering the dose of sotorasib and also doing the lead-in regimen experience. And both ways had trended a lower incidence of hepatotoxicity. These were largely asymptomatic liver enzyme elevations that occurred outside of the DLT window and resolved with corticosteroids and treatment modification or discontinuation, so manageable. There were no treatment-related deaths in this study, and the leading cohorts did demonstrate a durable clinical activity and deep responses. And among the 17 responders, the median duration of response was 17.9 months, with almost half of them still responding. So based on this experience, a lower dose of sotorasib as lead-in at 240 milligrams is currently being explored in combination with pembrolizumab as a potential first-line therapy strategy for patients. Thank you for listening.